Alrighty, I see a few people joining right in here. Happy Monday to you all on April 28th, 2025. Trade Ideas Live Sports Session here. As per usual, nothing pre-done as far as content goes here, so rely on you folks to drive the content with your questions. Don't be shy. Start getting those questions in for me, and we can get rocking and rolling right with those. So again, as I said to start us off here, this is an open forum. I don't do any pre-done content. I rely on you folks to drive the content and the direction of this Q&A session with your questions. So don't be shy. Go ahead, get those questions in for me and do my best to answer those. So again, don't be shy, folks. Get those questions in for me, please. As I always say, I cannot answer the questions that are not asked. That's what we're here for. That's what these sessions are for, to help you get moving in the direction you are looking for with the software. All right, no question there. Can your system help me determine the best options to purchase for growing a small account? Uh, we're not stock pickers or recommenders, Jamie. We're software, right? So we offer over 500 real-time data points for users to create their own scans for what they're looking for in the U.S. stock market. We do have two places that I'll call them suggested buy sell signals come from. The first being our virtual trading assistant, Holly, which gives you a time-stamped entry signal, if you will, and a suggested stop price for that signal. But you still have to be able to read charts and know some trading. It's not to be just blindly followed and just buy or short sell the call on it. The second is what we call our trade wave. Looking on my screen here, you should see on my charts these little blue B's and S's, and they indicate buys and sells. They're just representing EMA cloud crossover, essentially. And so when you get across to the upside, it wants to signal a buy, and when you cross to the downside, it wants to signal a sell. But it's not recommendations. It's not, hey, go and buy this based on that signal. For this system here, it's really trying to find a trend beginning and then start, and trying to catch that trend as early as possible to, one side or the other. You can see here, moving to the downside, we'd see this one here, trying to find it to the upside like that. So, if you're looking for a system that's just going to ultimately tell you what to buy, sell, or hold, you'd be looking for a financial planner or a financial advisor in that case. Yeah, I mean that's something that you're really going to do as a trader yourself. We don't have anything that's going to say this is the best entry, this is the best exit. We don't have anything that's going to be like that. Um, we have tools to help you try to identify trends as early as possible, but there's no way to predict if the trend will continue. And to give a good example here is, we get this buy and a sell immediately afterwards. Does it look like maybe it was going to loop up here and it didn't, right? Then you get it here and you do see we get the nice move, and you do get it here and you see we get a nice move down here like that, right? But no way to predict it was going to do that. We can simply just use indicators as technicians, try to find the trends as early as possible, and try to determine when they're ending as early as possible. There's also an add-on product we do. It's called Go No Go. As far as charts go, this dark blue being we're in a go, this tealish color being we're in a kind of go, this darkish, let me zoom in a little more, see it better. This darkish, very dark pink is a solid no go. This lighter pink is a kind of don't go. And then just a couple of orange here where it's a pause. I mean, you could create a scan for Bollinger Bands on some different time frames here. And if the stock meets the scan, it'll appear, right? So like I can come in here and I can look for what we have on position in Bollinger Bands here, and I could set something up and say I'm X amount above or below a Bollinger Band on those time frames. And if a stock meets the scan, we're going to get the alert on there, but it's not necessarily a buy or sell, right? It's the same as is a stock 3% above a 200 moving average, for example. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a buy or sell, but we can see if it's at a certain position in a Bollinger Band on 5, 15, 60 and dailies. Yeah, I do have that scan. Let me look for it. So what Andy did here is this. Let me close some of that stuff out. All right. So, he's looking, the stock's got to be up today from the close, because in a bull flag, I mean, this is what a bull flag looks like. You're going to have your pull here, and it should be kind of descending candles. And then we want to see a move up, right? So the last, candle here, we want to see that we're up from the prior day's close. You put this filter in here to get rid of ETFs. And then the 5-day range, you're going to be in between 1% and 5%, because that's where you're looking for the flag here, right? On that. And then the change in 5 days, we got to see we're not up too much. Otherwise, a flag is supposed to kind of like be contrary to the poll's move, right? So we should be kind of flagging down before we get that move up. And then the position in previous days range, we want to be, up above that, right? We want to see that we're moving up again. Stock composite rating, he was trying to find, quote, more quality stocks with composite rating. And then we got to be up at least 3% over the last 10 days. That's to give us the pull here, right? And so that's what it's looking for. That's how that works. And the reason he did what he did in there. So it's an outside the box way of doing this. And then if we click on any of these, let's just take a look here and see what we get. Yeah, so I can see what was going on here, the thought behind it. Here's our pull. We're flagging this way, moving. TRI. See, we get something here. Yep, similar look here. NWE. Another similar look. So yeah, this has got some good stuff coming through today. Some days it looks good, some days it don't look so good. Pretty similar again here. Not all of them are going to be perfect. This may be a little less than the others as far as the poll goes. I don't know if I have that one. I have this one here, but it would be the same concept. You're just changing time frames on those things there, Gabriel. So, you'd be looking at the same thing just on that shorter time frame essentially. And then, I want to circle back to you, Jamie. Well, hopefully what I said makes sense, kind of getting you the information you're looking for a better decision of whether or not our software fits and meets your needs or does not. Like I said, if you're looking for something that's like, hey, this thing happened by me, like with an end all be all, this is a buy. And then also here's how to manage a trade and sell. Like I said, we don't do that. That's not something we're going to do. Um, yeah, so I mean, I have this bull flag. I don't know where it came from. It says intraday. I don't know if it's Andy's or not. Take a look at this here and the Windows specific filters. I'm going to suspect it was him because that EPS filter. But yeah, same thing here, right? We've got to be up for a period here. Position on the previous day's range, right? So we want to see that we're moving up here from yesterday. 30-minute range. We don't want to be too far ahead on the 30-minute range because we want to be flagging. And then we got to be up today. That's the 80 there in the position today's range to find the pole. And we want to make sure that we are at least up over the last 15 minutes above that SMA there. So that's where that's all coming in. And that's how it's working. That's what it's looking for. Take a look here. Let's go back to a candlestick chart. So XFLT, what do we look like on a 5-minute chart? So yeah, I see where it's coming in. I don't know what time frame. Maybe he was doing this on a 15-minute time frame. I suspect because he had 15 and 30-minute filters in there. Not 30. I don't want 30. I don't want 30. I want 15, 15, 15. So I kind of see where, this may be coming in from here. There's your flat. There's your pole. There's your flag. D. There's your pole. Here's your flag. So that's what that's looking at there. I'm not much of a bull flag person myself, to be honest. I mean, sometimes they pop out to me, but I would never make any kind of decision on a bull flag. Dylan, I'm having an issue where the strategies I create within Brokerage Plus aren't saving. Save the strategies, right click Brokerage Plus. Yeah, so save as default. That's not what that does. What you need to do is saving as default on Brokerage Plus. Bear with me here. All it does is save how you have the columns set up when you click save as default. It doesn't save anything you've done within the Brokerage Plus window, just for the tab. However, the tab is set up specifically for the columns. That's what it does. When you make any changes to Brokerage Plus, you need to go to File, Save Layout, not Save or Share to Cloud, Save Layout, and then save it as part of your default _layout, all capitals like that. So you go ahead and click that, click Save, and that will save any changes you have made to Brokerage Plus. So, you're in here on your strategies and whatever you're doing here, you edit the account it's looking at, you change, your entry time, order details, risk management, hold on, anything like that there that you want changed and saved. That's how you go ahead and do that there. No, it will not say Brokerage Plus the way you want it to. Because when you start the software, Brokerage Plus loads with the software as part of your default layout. And if you change layouts, Brokerage Plus it stays static. It doesn't do anything. It's a pinned window, but it's a funny pinned window. It's not like other pinned windows. So anything you do to Brokerage Plus, it must be saved in your default layout so that when you start trade ideas, Brokerage Plus loads the way you want it with that. Because then as you change layouts afterwards, Brokerage Plus is still going to be there, just like that. Just like that. So like I can go ahead and change stuff. Sometimes I don't like to change my layout during the day because I'm running tests for things. I don't have any of that going. So watch here. If I go file, load layout, I just have a bunch of nonsense layouts in here. These aren't any special layouts or anything, but I've been doing the swing picks for the last few months. So if I change this to swing picks layout here, see how Brokerage Plus didn't do anything. It just stayed exactly as it was when I changed to this layout here. Yeah, you're very welcome. Glad I could help and clear that up for you there. Now, I want to say, don't quote me on this, but you can save to the cloud, and it will save Brokerage Plus settings there. That if you load that layout from like blank, it will come in. But don't quote me on that. I don't use the cloud for much other than just to back everything up. So if my computer ever gets damaged or if I'm traveling and I need to load something in another location, that I have it in the cloud. I don't load from the cloud ever. I load everything from a local save here. So don't hold my feet to the fire on that one. Sorry, I just want to reload my default here. And so you see, even as I reload this default layout now, Brokerage Plus isn't doing anything. It's just staying right how it was. There we go. So it's that first startup that it's going to load from as the default layout there. Web page. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, Benson. It's going to be. You got Apple coming up. Yeah, you got your heavy hitters this week. So we'll see here. Yeah, just an overall market look. Obviously, we bounced back a long ways off this 480 low or whatever it was. Bear with me. I'm supposed to be showing picture-in-picture charts here. I don't want to step outside of what I'm supposed to do. Hold on. All right, there we go. So what was that low? 481.80. So off that 481.80, I mean, we've bounced quite a bit. Interesting stuff here. Are we going to get a V recovery? We'll see. Looks like 550 is going to be a little bit of a battleground, at least going on today, right? So, or at least going on for now. I shouldn't even say today, because if we look here, if we dial in a bit, sorry, I'm going off topic, but any questions, please don't be shy, folks. Get those in for me here. But since I got this chart up, I mean, 450 there. We're almost 450 on Thursday. Battled around 450 Friday, and we're battling 450 again. 550. Excuse me. I'm saying 450. 550. Excuse me. And give a few points here and there, given these huge moves. You almost give yourself a 7 or 8 point, buffer to either side on this at this point. But yeah, we'll see how it all shakes itself out here. We all get front row seats to it. Kind of strange. I don't know why this is showing a trade wave of red here, not the buy. Interesting. So again, don't be shy, folks. If someone's got a question for me, please pop that in. I don't have any bear flag scans whatsoever, sorry. I mean, you know what you could do is this, it might work. Let me see, file, load from cloud. Where's that bull? So that bull scan that we were looking at there, you could right click that, go to configure, and go to flip. And that should flip all that stuff in there basically. And let's see, what do we got? I guess we want to look at this on a 15-minute chart, I said, right? So yeah, I can see that right there, you know. Here's your pull, flagging that way. There's your pull. Should really kind of flag that way though. So it's in the ballpark. Yeah, yeah. Flip function's a very nice feature. Make it a little easier when you're trying to build scans, and instead of trying to, you know, reverse it in your head, like, oh, well, I had a minimum of this, and does it need to be a max, or is it a negative max, or you know, things like that. I still get myself crossed up once in a while when I'm messing with the filters in here. And one thing you could always do to help yourself, you know, oh, what is putting this value into the filter due to the scan? You know, you go ahead and click on the show me function. Most of them will have this here. A few only have a histogram instead. Um, but some of them have it in Word. So, you know, having this here, and it'll update real if I change this here. So like right now it's got the max 10 and it's telling, you know, show me stocks where the price is below the low of this range, prices at the range, prices no more than 10% above the low of this range. Now, if I threw a 1 in here, watch, it updates it in real time. And then I've got that here, and you can see where it's saying show me between 1 and 10%. If I press OK, it's now carried over here into that. If I wanted to, you know, if I wanted to make the adjustment there after seeing what it did. Any comment on Holly's breakout long trades? Mostly been duds past few weeks. Yeah, the breakout long. So it's, you know, it's looking for stuff that's very high relative volume and has a gap up. The problem is, so this is the thing. I hesitate to say this, so bear with me on it. Once upon a time, there was only Holy Grail. There's a backstory to all this, so that's why if you bear with me a moment, and I'll get you all this. Once upon a time, there's only Holy Grail, 2016 and 17 and half of 2018. Sometime in June of 2018, Holly Neo and Holly 2.0 were born. They had some differences in them. Well, let me rephrase that. They had different people create the strategies in those than who created the Holy Grail strategies for the most part. And Holly Neo had some specifics to it that were different and could never be changed. The high relative volume, the gap ups and the gap downs, and the breakout longs, breakout shorts, and that and whatnot. And so they were segmented like that. The 2.0s were essentially just like Holly. They were just new strategies, essentially. It became overwhelmingly confusing for most users to grasp that really Holly's just one thing. We just fancy named the 2.0 for whatever reason in the Neo. So we kind of squashed them all back together. We did leave the Neo to be kind of separate since it is separate, and the Neo strategies come and alert no matter what every single day, regardless of their back testing and optimization. And that is it. So when you got a market like this where we're getting these gap ups and reversals, right? You know, nothing is really breaking out. You know, we're really not seeing much on a breakout, especially high relative volume stocks. They tend to really give it up in markets like this after making a move up. That's where you're going to see Holly Neo and those strategies suffer, unfortunately. So long story long, as always, and give you some insight in the backside. I just highly encourage folks to think of it as one Holly. There really isn't a difference between them outside of the Holly Neo will never change the fact that it needs a certain gap up and a certain high relative volume of the stocks, and that's it. I have been trying to auto trade all A. Um, I mean, when you're auto trading, you're going to come, you'll have a strategy that hopefully you've back tested and optimized. You'll right click, you'll have it saved to the cloud. You'll load it from the cloud into here. You come in, right click, edit the strategy, set the account in it, set your times, can you trade the same symbol more than once? Can you retrade it when you already have a holding for it? These are very tricky things. Trading the same symbol over and again in automation will set you up likely to have a reversal on it that will not work out in your favor. So I highly recommend that when you are automating anything, do not, I repeat, do not auto trade the same symbol while you're already holding it. It will cause you a problem. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I've never not seen it cause someone a problem. Get your order details, risk management, hold time, all that like that. Once you have set up every single thing here in the automation, just like what we went over in the beginning of this about Brokerage Plus, you must go to File, Save Layout, and you must, anything you ever do in your entire life with Brokerage Plus when you edit it, you must save it as your default layout. So again, File, Save Layout, click on default layout, all capitals, and save that like that. If you do not save that like that, nothing you did in there will take effect the next time you load trade ideas. That's really short and skinny on automation. I mean, as far as the loading it in and getting it going. And then every day, you have to start trade ideas fresh. Do not, I repeat, do not leave trade ideas running all night long. If you leave trade ideas running all night long, you're going to have issues with Brokerage Plus. You will likely have issues with Holly. You will likely have issues with any automation. Do not leave your broker open all night. So if you're using TraderWork, it's more for Trader Workstation than anything else because the other ones are web API. But with Trader Workstation, do not leave Trader Workstation running all night. Do not leave trade ideas running all night. Restart both. Relaunch, close them when you're going to sleep or whenever it's convenient for you to close them for the night, and then restart them every single morning. And then you have to enable the strategies every day. The strategies will not auto enable. You got to right click and enable wherever the heck it says enable in here. Somewhere in here it says enable. Click to enable right there and enable them each day. And that should be it. The other thing is do not log into the web during the day, whether it's the web desktop or the web dashboard. It will log you out of this software and that's it. You're logged out after that. So, if your alert happens, let's say you get an alert at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? And you were logged out because you used the web version and you realize it and you log back in at 10:15. The alert's come and gone. It's not going to send the alert retroactive. That's done. If you don't have any more alerts to come in, it's not going to. Also, do not edit your trading strategies in the middle of them running, right? Don't, I'm running it and I forgot to change whatever on it. Don't right click and come into edit strategy while it's running, right? You need to right click, disable it, then go in, make your edits, and then right click and then re-enable it. And then once you've made those edits and re-enabled, make sure you go ahead again, File, Save Layout, and save it as the default _ layout again. Very, very, very important stuff. Yeah, Chambers, you and I have had a lot of back and forth with this. I've got I'm comfortable with saying 500 plus people auto trading a day right now with no issues whatsoever. So if you followed those instructions I just gave you, there should be absolutely no issue whatsoever. The things that come to mind is that you're making edits and not saving your layout afterwards, and those edits aren't saving. This morning, I can tell you for sure what happened to you. You had an alert go off at 9:32 that didn't trade, but it didn't trade because you had been logged out of this. I can see it on my end from the web API login that you tagged at that time, and it logged you out of this. So it wasn't going to retroactively go back and trade that strategy for you. Like I can create something and have it auto trade right now. Watch this real quick as an exercise. I'm going to create an alert window. This is not going to be back tested. I just wanted to fire alerts here. We'll go with new high. I'm sure I can find a stock making a new high. Window specific filter. Yeah, 5 or above. Oh, we'll give you a relative volume of 2, and let's go with 500,000. All right. And we're going to call it auto test. And we're going to say okay. And I'm going to right click, save or share to cloud. Going to save it. Now I'm going to, whoops. Bear with me here. I'm going to right click, load from cloud, auto test, add existing strategy. There it is right there. Oh, wow. Hasn't gotten an alert in that long. All right. Let's do this instead. Maybe new lows will be the one. Add alert. Go new highs or new lows. If I was making a real auto strategy, I would never have 2 alerts in it. And I would suggest you to never have 2 alerts. This is just for an exercise so I can show it happening here. Let's resave or share to cloud. Okay, done. Delete. Yes. Load from cloud. Loaded. Add to existing. Now we're going to give it some trading instructions here. We're past that time, so we can send that. We're going to buy 100 shares. We're going to give it a stop loss of 3%. We'll go 5%. Oops, 5%. We'll give it a target of also 5%, just for funsies. And we're not going to give it a hold time, so it'll look good. Look good. But we need to select an account. Paper trader, save. So we look good, I believe. No, we don't want to stop sending after any amount. I just want to send free and clear for now. And we're going to enable this strategy. And we're going to watch them come in now. So next alert, we should see it here, and then we'll see it here. There we go. So there ANIP came in, ANIP came in, auto traded it for me, right? And we can see, should be able to see alerts there. Yeah, there's target price. So target price is way up here. That's why I can't see it. Stop price. That I should be seeing. Yeah, I'm not because. So we can see, next sets come on. Here we go. So these are all auto-populating. So as long as you've done those things that I've shown there, this will go through. It will auto-trade. Can you set a verbal alert? Only with the Windows download software. So if I right-click and I come to Properties, Actions, check Play Sound, go to Set Up Sound, go to Text-to-Speech, press OK, press OK, and I'll get a audio alert. It'll say the ticker essentially. Sometimes it says it as a word, sometimes it says it as letters. So again, Chambers, you just need to follow those instructions like that. What about the brokerage simulator? Would you like to, I mean, I'm connected to it now. I mean, I can, here, Apple. Load up Apple and I could buy, 100 shares at market. Bang, send. Now, of course, the software is freezing on me now because, that's what it likes to do. Yeah, perfect. Software froze on me, so bear with me while I figure out what to do. But again, the most important thing is this. Any edit you make in Brokerage Plus, it must be saved as your default layout. It cannot be saved as any other layout whatsoever. You cannot right click and save as default on the Brokerage Plus window or anything like that. So bear with me while this loads up, and I can go through a few more things with the simulator here for you. Just bear with me while I get it all back up and running here. So yeah, here's Brokerage Plus, and if you don't know where to find that, just in case, new Brokerage Plus, look for it there under the new, and then once you have that, you click Brokers, and go Paper Trading, Connect, and then when you're connected there, you got to go to, come here and select the account. So you can have multiple accounts in Paper Trading that you can create. And, I could click on any of these stocks in the scan here, and if I want to go a limit order, I could do a limit. If I want to buy a dollar value instead of share value, I have that. I have mine set to default to the buy side. Here's, how to sell. So I'm going to short sell 100 shares of this here. So I click 100 shares, I send, I'm just going to sell it short. So there you go. See, it's a minus 100 shares on that. I could go ahead and right click that, and I could add a target if I wanted. I could say, $33 is my target, for example, because I'm on the short side. And then you'll see that's down, way down here. You can see how it's lined up there with that. Then you're not connected to E-Trade, I would have to say. Yeah, that's it. Crash again. Go ahead and crash again. Man. Yep. Perfect. Third time's a charm, right? So, I would go with the E-Trade account. You're likely disconnected earlier in the day, so make sure you're connected there again, right? Go ahead and check that connection. What else? Jim, do you have any other specific questions about the simulator? Go ahead and close all that out. Go ahead and cancel all these orders. Perfect. So, all right. I think it closed a bunch of stuff down, so I stopped crashing. I had too many things open. My poor HP desktop couldn't handle it. So again, got a couple minutes that I'm still here for, folks. Don't be shy. So when you click down here, you're connected to E-Trade, and when you click down here, you don't see E-Trade as an option. Oh, thanks for that feedback there, Miller. Appreciate it. I also, we use StreamYard, and I don't care what anybody says from StreamYard. They say that everything is cloud based and it's on their servers, and it's not. Every time I load StreamYard, my computer starts freaking out. So like I have to close Slack and Broker and whatever else every time I load StreamYard. When I'm not using StreamYard, I'm absolutely fine. I would suggest this then, Chambers. Go to E-Trade, go to settings, and I would redo this here. I would redo your token in that case. Wait, you're saying the web? I told you this morning in email, right? Perhaps if you could go back over that email, you cannot use your E-Trade account on the web. You cannot use anything but the simulator on the web. The only place you can use E-Trade is in the download software, what you're looking at now. You cannot use it. I repeat, I repeat, I repeat, I repeat. You cannot, you absolutely 100% cannot use any broker on the web. One more time. You cannot use any broker on the web. It is not possible. It is not an option. You cannot do that. It is a simulator on the web only. No broker. There is no broker in here. You get your paper accounts. That is all you get in here. I know I explained that this morning in the email. So no need to change this here. Don't go to the settings on this. You don't need to go to the settings there. I reread that. You're asking about the web. There's no E-Trade option here. It is impossible. You cannot use E-Trade here. I pray every day that they will never allow any live trading on the web. So again, anybody with questions, don't be shy. Please, please get them in. Got a couple more minutes here for a wrap up for the day on this. Just for fun, what are not MTA? I. Wow, just gonna be one of those days today, huh? All right, let's going to tour some of the larger stocks people like to talk about the most. Apple looks almost like the SPY more than less. Imagining a Meta. No, does a completely different look with Meta, actually. Amazon. Amazon looks like Meta. What does Netflix look like? Wow, Netflix. Sitting up there at all-time highs. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Is Tesla, what's Tesla look like? It was bouncing for the last week or so, right? What's Tesla doing now? Yeah, it bounced after earnings here. Down today. Oh, who matters out there? The best way to learn trade ideas for trading? Well, this becomes kind of a chicken and egg thing. You need to have a kind of a trading plan, right? And then you would scan for things based on that trading plan and then execute accordingly. Not every scan is going to, put out idea generation that you're going to want to trade. But if you don't have a trading plan, you can start to build things in the software and, look at the different indicators that are in there and see what maybe stands out to you that you'd want to work with. What I would suggest is, we have these live supports at noon Eastern, all market days. So I would suggest coming to these every day, noon Eastern, when we're doing them. Ask questions, learn technical analysis, ask questions about technical analysis. I would also say we have a free live traders room. Go join that if you're not already in it. I'll give you a link to it. Bear with me. So you can join the free live traders room in there. Nobody's going to tell anybody what to buy, sell, hold, how to trade, but there's a lot of technical analysis talk in there. And you can start to, what's an SMA, what's a VWAP, what's an EMA, what's an RSI, what's a Bollinger Band, so on and so forth. There's a gajillion, indicators out there. You got to find what works for you and test. Some general rules before you could ever become a profitable trader. Number one, you must have a solid, real plan for why you bought the stock, what your stop loss is when you're buying it, and why it's your stop loss, and how you'll manage to the upside. I don't believe in hard targets, but I do believe in hard stop losses. If you do not have a stop loss before you're buying a stock, there should be no reason on this planet you ever buy it. If you do not have a trading plan, a well thought out trading plan that you've tested on paper and has been successful on paper, if you buy a stock, you are not trading, you're gambling at that point, right? So you might as well just head to Vegas and light your money on fire. As harsh as that sounds, that's the reality of it, right? This is a business. It's not a job. Trading is a business. You're going into business for yourself. McDonald's hires people and gives them jobs if anybody wants a job, right? But on a business, if you want to open a business, you got to go to the bank, right? And you say, hey, bank, I got this idea for a business and I want to open it. Can you give me the money for it? And they'll say, great. What's the business plan? And if you say nothing, they're going to laugh you right out of the bank and not give you a penny. In this case, you are the bank and the business plan, right? So you got to come in and talk yourself into why you would give yourself a loan to start a trading business. And if you don't have a solid business plan around it, you should not be loaning yourself that money to start your business, right? things that a trading plan entails, like I said, is what's your stop loss? How do you determine your stop loss when you're looking at a stock? What makes you interested in that stock that you'd want to take a position in it? And if that position goes favorable to you, how would you manage it from there? The trade logs. Are you talking about are you talking about Brokerage Plus logs? Because if you are, yes, I would agree with your colorful language on them. I'm not shy about it. I absolutely hate Brokerage Plus. And for anybody that wonders why I hate Brokerage Plus, it's because it's complex. It's overly complex, and people struggle with it immensely. Um, Brokerage Plus is like trying to fly a space shuttle, essentially, and and people try to go from like the Model T to the space shuttle. So you're welcome, Hassan. Um, you know, things that I would suggest to start with that are so I'm completely self-taught when it comes to trading. I don't have any finance background or anything like that. And when I first started off and I was learning things, I put every indicator on a chart. I had a 10 SMA and a 20 SMA and a 50 and a 100 and a 200. And I was throwing Bollinger Bands on top of all that. And I don't even know what else. I had so many things on there. And I begin to understand like how they function and what they did? Sure. Did it help me with my trading? Nope, not even a little bit. Um, you know, I like to look at support, resistance, and volume, and that's really all I'm doing these days. I don't really intraday trade any. I don't really day trade or intraday trade anymore. I basically strictly swing trade at this point. Position trade, swing trade, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes my trades end up being a day trade because I don't like the price action once I've gotten into the stock. That happens, but that's not what I'm intending to do. But what I like to do is I like to draw lines on charts. I like to draw support and resistance lines. I like to say to myself, all right, well, look at this level, and my eye just jumped right at it. This is a level where there seems to be a lot of, magnetization to it as far as the chart goes. Yeah, that's a disappear line in the middle of it, right? Always looks good, right? Always looks good live to have that shit happening. Hmm. Yep, 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 yep. All right. I guess this isn't going to work because, I don't know why. We're going to stay this time. Oh, that's nice of you. So, I look at something like this and I say to myself, all right, well, couldn't get through it, couldn't get through it, couldn't get through it, gapped up, came up, and as soon as it had its first chance to come back through it, it got down under it. So this was resistance, right? But it never became support, actually. It just kind of went right through that. It was never support, and now it's become resistance again. So I'd be looking at something like this and saying, all right, I need some closes above this before I'm interested. Now, should it just completely take off on me? So be it. I missed the trade. Let's look for another one. That's the way it goes. But then looking at it, I say, all right, well, now we got a few closes above it. 300 looks like it's another area of interest. I'm going to be looking at that. I'd be looking at this area, whatever that is right there, where I can see price just likes to bump into those areas. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at. And I'm thinking when I'm looking at charts, keep it simple. The more complex you make it, the harder it is to make a decision, I feel like. So, Mike C, you take it easy, my friend. You take it easy. If I don't see you again for the rest of the week, as always, be safe out there. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff there that I'd be sharing with you, son. And then, you don't even have to subscribe to Trade Ideas now. Like, do I want you to subscribe to it eventually? Yes, of course I'd want you to subscribe to it eventually. But you don't have to rush into it. I mean, we're not going anywhere as a company. The Traders Room is free. This live stream is free. So you can come here, ask some questions, bounce some thoughts, about indicators and trading and stuff like that. We're obviously not going to tell you what to buy, sell, or hold, but you can get a good handle on just general trading knowledge being in the room and being here while looking at the software and get a little software education before actually spending anything else to subscribe to it. And, you can then start to paper trade on your own, even if you just do it from a notebook, right? And people underestimate kind of physically writing stuff down and going back over it. And then keep a journal. I was looking at stock XYZ because of whatever indicator, and then I entered the trade based on this reason, whatever that is, and I chose the stop loss based on this reason for whatever it is, and I decided to manage to the upside if I get an upside based on this reason. And then if the trade works, write what worked on it, and if the trade doesn't work, write what didn't work on it, and do that with every trade. And you're going to see after like 50 trades, almost every time something worked, it's going to be mostly the same stuff, and every time it didn't work, it's going to be mostly the same stuff. And you can start to determine what does and doesn't work, and that can really help you refine the trading plan that you originally come up with. That these are that's what I did. Now I did it the much harder way than I should have done, and I listened to all the people's giving me good advice and things like that, unfortunately, but that was on me, not on them. So that's that. So, all right, folks, we are at the top of the hour here. I am going to wind down for the day. Appreciate everybody coming in, hanging out, with all the questions and all that. If you're not in the trader's room, I'll always say that you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Here's a link for the trader's room one more time. Excellent, Miller. I'm glad. That was actually something that tripped me up. Again, most of the stuff that I share are things that trip me up at some point. So sometimes it took me a hot minute to get these things through my head for whatever reason. Sometimes I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed on occasion. So that does happen. So yeah, the trader's room. I just highly recommend being in there if you want to be around some like-minded folks. Barry knows the software very well for the most part. Does Barry know everything about the software? Nope, but neither do I, and neither does most anybody else. So, but he can certainly help with answering questions about scan building and setting up charts. And Barry's just a good wealth of knowledge for trading in general to talk to. So, again, jump in that room if you're not, and don't be shy to email us if you need us. info@trade-ideas.com. If I don't see you all again for the rest of the week, you take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. Don't do anything without a plan. Please, please, please. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.